Jesus was kind of a little bit more straightforward in some of his approaches.
Definitely. I'm not saying beat around the bush.
Right.
I'm just saying say it, but don't be this. This is a whole different topic too. Say it, but don't have this automatic I'm right, you're wrong mentality.
Right. Go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful with saying open mind because then people are like, he's going to get into wooey stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm open to listening. That's what I like to say.
Exactly.
Open to listening to somebody.
Yeah. And just be real. Like, understand if you're willing to see a different perspective, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
We've talked about a little about the aggression side, so let's move on to passivity. The dangers of passivity.
I hate passivity.
And we can get into a little bit. Yeah, well, so do I, but dude, I used to be that guy a lot.
Same.
Yeah, and it sucks. And it's like when you start becoming assertive and just, I don't want to say owning your own life because God owns my life, but I think we know what I'm trying to say.
For sure.
Like taking control of your life and the dangers of passivity. And nice guy syndrome, which I think nice guy syndrome needs to be replaced with simp or pushover, because it's okay to be nice, and being what they call a nice guy isn't really, you're not really nice. It's more of you're just more of a pushover. So let's go into that.
Yeah, that's really good, bro. Passivity and complacency.
Oh, complacency.
Dude, those things are the worst. And they're the worst because they're hard to notice.
Complacency, especially.
Yes.
That's why they say complacency kills.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it sneaks up on you. And it's
and
always
you'll be in that cycle for so long, you don't even notice it.
Oh, I thought you said you're being that psycho for so long.
No, you'll be in that cycle.
Yes.
For a long time before you actually notice, whoa, I've been complacent. And most of the time, at least in my life, I've been called out. That's how I figure things out when it comes to that passivity and complacency. So
I always figure out complacency because there's just something going. I start to feel a little bit more stressed. It's like, well, it's because you did this and that.
Yeah.
And then I have to think, okay, let's go back. Because what we do is we have these habits and they're really good. Wake up early. But then life starts getting good.
And you just start coasting.
And you start coasting. And then it's like, I don't have to really wake up early. I got to where I wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like you don't go to the gym, work out and get strong and then say, hey, I made it, so I'm going to stop now.
Yeah. Yeah, because in a matter of 2 weeks, you lose it all.
I wouldn't say you lose it all, but you start to lose muscle after 2 weeks, which is kind of crazy.
It sucks, dude. It takes you forever.
No.
Anyways, yeah. And I think the biggest danger in it is, again, the good habits.
Yeah.
You know, you go into prayer sets. You're going to church on Sundays. You're going to your young adults group. You're going to your community time, whatever. I know some people that do. It's an event where basically once a month between 3 different families. So it's a total of 3 months. One family makes dinner and invites the other 2 families over. And they kind of just commune together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm saying, like, all these things are good things, but it can quickly become this cycle where you just begin to coast. And in the same way, I found myself where I'm spending time with the Lord, waking up early, reading, 2 chapters a day or whatever. Last year I wanted to finish reading the Bible in its entirety.
Yeah.
Finally was able to do that. So I was like reading 10 chapters a day, something like that. And in that, my goal of knowing God initially became or turned into, I just want to make an achievement of getting this done. So instead of doing this to grow, I was just doing it because
it becomes a checklist.
Yeah, it became a checklist. And like, again, good habits, right? I'm reading, quote unquote, learning, but I'm not actually meditating on the word. I'm not, and I find it really interesting that meditating means to chew on. Because when you eat a steak, right, you're not just going to swallow it. When you chew it, you can taste all the flavors.
Yeah.
And it tastes really good, right?
Yeah.
Versus just inhaling that thing. And I just found myself being passive with not allowing myself to dig deeper. Because sometimes there'd be verses that I would read that would really challenge me, that would convict me. And instead of me going down this a vein that the Lord wanted me to walk into, I was like, I'll pass. I'll just read the other 6 chapters I have left for the day, and I'll call it good. Instead of going 15 minutes down this rabbit hole with God, I would spend 15 minutes just reading other scripture that maybe the Lord didn't really want me to dive into at that moment. So there's that. And we can even take that a step back, which I would say a lot of the church today is where they are okay with being Christians on Sundays.
Oh yeah,
and what about Monday? What about Tuesday? What about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
And it's said so much.
Yeah,
I hear this all the time. I've had people on this very podcast say like, "Oh, don't just have a Sunday faith." Cole Walters is one of them, and I don't think he's just a Sunday faith guy, but he's saying it too. And it's just like I hear it so much, but yet it's still such a thing.
Yeah.
I know people who. So yeah, I'm gonna go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I know people who will complain about where America is today, right? It's in dismay. We're going down. But then you come home from work and you drink. They don't necessarily get drunk, but they're still drinking. And then they watch movies or country music videos. And it's like we wonder why there's no real revival in America. Do you know how common that is in Christianity for
super common
people to say and complain about where America is like, oh, look at what these kids are doing. It's like, you're not pouring into like they're not into people's lives. They're not volunteering. They're not going out evangelizing. I mean, they're a bit older, but
yeah, dude. And tagging on along with that, actually tying that back to something that was mentioned earlier. There's been a few churches where I've been in a few conversations with leaders there, and they've asked me, Luiggi, where are all the young volunteers? Because we just have old ones. Yeah. Where are they? And the reality is they're hungry and they want to be fed. They want to grow.
Yeah.
And there's no father to provide in these churches. And I would say a lot of churches in America specifically. So they're going to go to where they can be fed.
I think, too, with the way that church is going, especially in America, it's feminizing men.
That too.
And the men who want to be masculine don't want to go to church. They want to go be masculine. So who are they going to go to? Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
That's another role model.
But here's the thing is he's out in the world and he is standing up for men and standing up for masculinity and teaching men about purpose
but it's twisted, dude.
It's very twisted. Yeah. I'm not saying it's good.
I know.
But when you're a boy and you're trying to be a man, and not every church, but most churches are feminizing you faster than the world is, because even some of the world is wanting to go back to traditionalism. Yeah,
dude. And I would say that one of the reasons why it's so captivating, the things that he says, is because he is onto something.
Yes.
Again, just agreeing with what you said. To a certain degree, this dude has the right idea of what it is to be masculine, but it's twisted.
It's very ecclesiastical.
Yeah.
It's masculine, but it's without God.
Yes, that's 100% it.
Yeah.
You know, he talks about having multiple women and all that stuff. Bro, no.
No, that's not a king. That's not what a king does.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's what I've noticed specifically with the church and their questioning of where are all these people? Dude, they're going to go to where they can be fed. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you're a leader in some church and you randomly come across this, wake up. Wake up. One person alone can't change a nation. It has to be a movement of people who are actually willing to do these things. Because you're right. This is said time and time and time and time and time and again. Okay, what are you going to do about it? If you're listening to this and you agree with this message, what are you going to do about it? I know friends, really close friends of mine that I love, where they have seen fault in the church, specifically in discipleship. Again, we're talking about leadership. This is also part of masculinity.
Yes.
Where there has been absolutely no genuine discipleship. They focus onto programs, if even. I know a few churches that do programs. I know many other churches that don't even do that. And they have been affected by it. And instead of saying, you know what, I recognize this issue, I'm going to bring it to the church and say, what are we going to do about it as a people? Instead, they run away. And they're just like, I don't want to be part of this church. I don't want to be affiliated with it anymore.
Who runs away?
The person who recognizes the fault. So, for example, this person, my friend, he noticed that a church that or a few churches he was a part of, had no idea of what discipleship was. And instead of saying, hey, let's take up this mantle of discipleship and actually hone down on what the Lord wants to teach us about it, that way we can therefore go and make disciples of all nations, as it says in Matthew. What he did was, I'm going to back out and I'm going to let them continue in their, this was essentially what happens. You back out. He backed out. Stopped